Teams of the season so far. So let's have a look at the agreed faces, because there's actually quite a lot of common ground for you both. And Virgil van Dijk, you've already mentioned, Gary, who has just been in sensational form at the back for Liverpool. But there are three Liverpool players. And interesting that Gravenberch, at the start of the season, you wouldn't have predicted that, would you? To be in the team of the year as a defensive midfield player.
I think he has been the biggest surprise, if you like, but in a really good way this season. Because for me, when he came in last season, I seen him as a number 8, almost like a floating attacking midfield player who was a little bit of nothing. If I'm being totally honest, to think he's now become one of the most disciplined midfield players in the Premier League right now. He's playing such a vital role in protecting a back four. I think he's been an absolute revelation.
And Gary, I think a lot of people were, I don't know, questioning the money paid for Caicedo with some of his performances last season. I'm presuming that if you were a doubter, you've been convinced by what you've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was fantastic at Brighton, then he came to Chelsea and he looked awful in a Chelsea shirt. That partnership with Enzo Fernandez in midfield just wasn't working at all. But he's been so much better this season, so much more settled. I think when he plays with Lavia, he plays well, but actually Enzo Fernandez has come back into the team in recent weeks as well, and he's looking even better with him. So, yeah, he looks like the player that they signed, and yeah, he's been the outstanding player. I mean, there were a couple of other players that you could have thought. I mean, even McAllister, Declan Rice, obviously, you could have thought of as well. But yeah, I thought Caicedo deserved to be in alongside Gravenberch. I agree with Carragher on Gravenberch. It's amazing what Arne Slot has gotten out of him.
I think Cole Palmer would be in most teams of the season so far. Matheus Cunha, though, Gary, just I'll come to you on Matheus Cunha. He makes both your teams. People might be surprised with that, but why does he have to be in there?
I just think his numbers, his performance levels for a team that have been really badly struggling. Watched Wolves earlier on the season. I actually thought they were going to go down. I thought they were so bad. But he's a shining light, and to score those types of goals, similar with Wood up front, the reason that you put Wood up front is purely to score the kind of goals or that level of goals for a certain team who don't create the same amount of chances as maybe the top teams. That's why you put these players in, because their performance levels so far in this first few months of the season have been of the sort of best players in the league.
What were the other names you were wrestling with, Jamie?
I was deciding. I picked my team just before the game tonight, and you look at Isak's performance tonight. Now, listen, Isak's a better centre forward than Chris Wood, but the thing I would say about Chris Wood, it feels like he's been more consistent from the start of the season to now, whereas Isak's been absolutely out of this world probably in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. So that was my decision there. With Cunha on that side, what I would say is, when you look at Salah on this right side and probably Saka, and maybe at times Cole Palmer plays on that side, you feel like you've got three world-class players on that side. I actually don't think we've got that on the left side. I think Son's obviously dropped off. Anthony Gordon's probably not quite the same as he was last season. Gakpo and Diaz have been really good, been fantastic for him, but they've almost swapped positions at different times. We haven't got a Hazard or a Mane in the league, if you like, on that left side. So that's why I've gone for Cunha on that position. He plays almost like a floating role for Wolves behind the front and just veers to the left. So that's why I've put him in. And as Gary said, his numbers are fantastic.
And presumably Salah picks himself, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. What a performer. I mean, you're absolutely talking about the very best of the best. Someone who is... just his fact he plays every single game. He just feels like he never misses a match. And he's just literally almost 8, 9 out of 10 every single match. He's one of the very best in the world, one of the best that the Premier League's ever had. And like I say, been doing it now for donkey's years, it feels like, and looks like he's getting better and better and getting more efficient. He hasn't maybe got that sort of same electric sort of pace that he maybe had 3 or 4 years ago, but he's in that moment in his career of complete and utter experience and comfort that he just knows exactly where he wants to be and sort of entered that next phase of his sort of football career and adapted to it. And he looks like he's taken his fitness levels onto a different level. He looks stronger, he looks leaner. Something's happened in his body. Just, yeah, it absolutely mesmerising what he's done. And, we're watching him for Liverpool yesterday. What he did for that first goal yesterday, I was watching that on my iPad on the way back from Leicester and Man City. I was like, oh my God, we're all in trouble here if he's starting to knock it through people's legs like that. It was absolutely amazing. You don't see stuff like that very often.
No, absolutely. And his numbers are just hitting extraordinary levels. Would he be your player of the the season so far? Both of you, yeah?
Yeah. I think, right now you look at him, I think we're seeing an all-time season. And listen, there was so many stats flying around on social media yesterday, and we knew we had to do something big on Mo Salah. So I thought, well, look, rather than the Premier League stuff was out there, I thought, what's the best season a Ronaldo or a Messi have had halfway through a season? We know their numbers for years were so great. But he's basically behind those two. But that's the best season they've ever had, is it?
I think we looked and saw that Ronaldo only once had beaten those numbers, and that was that extraordinary season 14-15. I think we found that Messi had done it twice.
That's pretty unbelievable. When we think of sort of the consistency of Ronaldo or Messi over a 10-year period at sort of Barcelona and Real Madrid, the fact Ronaldo's only beaten the numbers Mo Salah's getting now once. I couldn't believe that when we heard the stats, and Messi only twice, really. It just shows that we are... I'm not even sure of the exact figures, but I think of 3 or 4 times in the Premier League year. I think of Haaland a couple of years ago. I think of the season Henry got, over 20 goals and 20 assists. I think of Luis Suarez under Brendan Rodgers, that one season where it was just off the scale. I think Shearer at Blackburn, where it felt like he scored... Well, you see the Suarez season there, sorry. But we could be seeing an absolute all-time sort of season that we never forget. Now, we had that. Is he actually on the list here again? But I think Mo Salah had that in his first season. But what I would say is, on this show a few weeks ago when we talked about his comments after Southampton, I said he's in the top 5 players to ever play for Liverpool. I think if he takes Liverpool to a league title and he ends up with the Premier League, PFA Premier League Player of the Season, which if he wins it, will be the 3rd time he's won it, which has never happened before. No one's ever won that 3 times. If he does that, he's not in the top 5. He's basically fighting with Kenny Dalglish and Steven Gerrard. It's a fight to see who is Liverpool's probably greatest ever player. If he can add that to what he's already done at Liverpool, he sort of leaves a Ian Rush or a Graham Souness actually behind and joins those two most Liverpool fans debate and argue about is the greatest player to ever play for Liverpool.
Where would he sit for you, Gary, if we were talking about the Premier League's all-time greatest attacking players? This was a debate we had here a couple of weeks ago.
No, he's getting to that level where he's going to be in the sort of, top 3, top 5, top 10, depending on what you think about other players. But it's staggering. You don't often see it. And like you say, it's the sort of robustness of him, the idea that a player can play on the wing, score goals, literally make goals, be there every single 3 days, never look like he's sort of, if you like, fading in games, never look like he's wavering. Ronaldo and Messi did it for sort of like 10, 12 years, and it was something that we all were like blown away by, one of the greatest things we've seen in all time, watching those two. And Salah, to be fair, sits there in 3rd on that table behind them. And, absolutely unbelievable level of performance, one of the best we have seen in the Premier League. And I think, to be fair, if Liverpool were to win the league this season and he was to get 2 titles, he's won the Champions League, then that's the type of thing that these types of great players do. They score and affect and impact big matches constantly. I don't know what year it was when he scored that goal against Manchester City, when Manchester City were at the best a few seasons ago, cutting in off the sort of right-hand side at Anfield. One of the best goals you'll ever see. You just don't score goals like that against the best opponents unless you're world class.
There is one theory, Jamie, that he's been driven by a hunger, potentially a hunger to win himself a new contract, but perhaps that desire, that hunger is coming from something else now. That is the desire to win a Ballon d'Or.
Well, I think Mo Salah has always seen himself, I wouldn't say as good as Messi and Ronaldo, but in that sort of stratosphere as one of the best players in the world. But he feels he's been unjustly sort of not given certain awards, and we talk about the Ballon d'Or. Now, I always think the Ballon d'Or, a lot of the time, revolves around a tournament. Sometimes, an international tournament, whoever wins it, the best player normally picks it up, or the Champions League winner. It's always difficult for Egypt to... I don't think they've won the African Nations Cup with Mo Salah, but obviously in a World Cup as well. The fact there's no tournament in the summer, if Liverpool were to win the league and go really close, get into maybe a Champions League final or win it, and the fact that sort of Mbappe at Real Madrid hasn't quite started as well as he would have liked, Haaland's probably had the one season that he's not at his best. I think those factors put together means this will be the best opportunity he's ever had of winning the Ballon d'Or. He's probably number 1 right now. If he replicates what he's done in the first half of the season, I think he wins the Ballon d'Or.
Right, back to our team, and we've showed you the collective picks. Let's go to Gary's reveal now for those disputed positions. I probably could have predicted that reaction. But...
What are you laughing at?
How have you picked Vardy on at left-back? He gives a goal away every game. Have you actually watched Man City?
Yeah, I watched him a few times this season, yeah.
Well, obviously not enough. I mean, is he... What games have you watched?
No,
are you serious?
To be honest with you,
are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, I'm serious. To be honest with you, left back I was struggling with badly. It's the position that, to be fair, I was most struggling with. No, I was. I mean, he scored 4 goals. He's always a threat. To be fair, he's been the one that's consistent. He's been the one that's consistently played. To be fair, out of City's play, and to be fair, I still think he's the left back that I would probably pick at this moment in time in the league if I was picking a team. If I was picking a team right now, and I was thinking about building a back four, he'd be the player that I'd put in at left back. He's a goal threat. He does his job reasonably at left back. City are giving goals away left, right and centre. I get that at the moment. It's not usual for them. It's not usual for him. But who are the other left backs in the league?
We're picking it on the first half of the season, and he has given goals away. So why have you picked him?
Because I think he's the best left back in the league in the first half of the season still. All right, okay.
Go on.
I haven't watched him.
Well, if you've watched him, you wouldn't have picked him.
Go on, then. Who have you got, Messiah? Who have you got, Mr. Manager?
Well, you can come back in a second. We'll go to your centre-back, Saliba, ahead of Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, because he plays right centre-back and he's just, I think, edged it. I looked at the numbers this morning. It was one of those two, to be honest with you. Arsenal have got a good defensive record. Saliba's been, I think, still... It's not been the best start to the season for Arsenal, but defensively they're still strong and he's still outstanding. So he was the obvious choice to play alongside Van Dijk. I think he is the second-best centre-back in the league.
And you like creativity at right-back, Trent Alexander-Arnold?
To be honest with you, the more I watch him, I think his defending's improved a lot. I think he's got a better intensity to his defending. I'm not saying he's perfect. I don't think he ever will be, but I think he's got a far better attitude towards his defending right now than I've seen previously in sort of like, if like years going by. I think this last 12 months he's improved enormously. And then what he does on the ball, I have to say, I know that we've seen it now for a number of years, but you talk about Mo Salah in terms of what he produces on that right side for Liverpool, obviously in attacking sense, up higher up the pitch. What Trent Alexander-Arnold produces consistently on a regular basis from right back is remarkable. It's just remarkable. And to be fair, yeah, he's my right back.
Matt Seltz tops the clean sheet count as well for Nottingham Forest. Don't think you're going to debate that too much, Jamie. So let's have a look at your 4 players that you went with. Gary, this is your opportunity to get involved here as well. OK, so his left back is Anthony Robinson at
What are your thoughts on him?
I like him. I considered, to be fair, Anthony Robinson. He wasn't someone I didn't consider. You know, I considered Lewis Hall. I looked at, a couple of other options, but there wasn't anybody that I was thinking.
So you weren't happy with the 7 assists from Robinson, playing for Fulham, getting forward in that position?
Well, sometimes as well, you watch more. Sometimes you watch teams more than you watch others, and you can look at stats all you like. Gvardiol, if you're looking at stats, Gvardiol scored 4 goals, and you just ignored him and laughed at me.
So you haven't watched him then?
No, I have. Yeah, I've watched Anthony Robinson when Fulham play, but I've not done a Fulham game live. So what I'm saying is, sometimes you have a bias towards teams that you watch live more.
You can play.
Can Sky Sports put Gary Neville on more Fulham games, please?
No, keep putting him on Fulham games.
You can play with your stupid machines all you like. Yeah. Lorena right back, Milenkovic just inside. Talk to me about Milenkovic, Jamie.
Listen, he's like almost like the Van Dijk of Nottingham Forest, if you like. I mean, the one person I was thinking, you went for Saliba. You can it's a toss between Saliba and Gabriel for me. I was actually very close to putting Gabriel in for the defensive record, but also because he's almost the most talked about defender in the league now because of what he does at set pieces. So I was very close to putting him in. But I just feel what Nottingham Forest do defensively, a lot of it is about that. And I know Gary went for the goalkeeper, but I think the actual protection and what those defenders do in front of him. And Lorena, it was a very...
You think he's had a better half of the season than Trent Alexander-Arnold?
No, it's a difficult one to say that. I mean, he plays right back and left, so every time I watch him, he does that job on both sides. And every time I watch him, I'm going to say something now, that even though Nottingham Forest is the second in the league, I do look at him and think he could play for a team who expects to be in the Champions League every season. Nottingham Forest are going for it this season, but no, every time I watch Nottingham Forest, it's the defensive side of it that really impresses me. So I felt like I had to get 2 of their defenders in there, the 2 I went for.
Gary, go on. I thought you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I mean, sometimes you can do that. You can see that a team's done very well and you can think that they deserve more players in the team because of that, and I don't disagree. I think that Nottingham Forest have done fantastically. It's amazing where they are, the story of the season so far, but then if you're looking at Saliba and Trent Alexander-Arnold versus Milenkovic and Aina, then if you just do it as player versus player in each position and you watch Aina every week and you watch Trent Alexander-Arnold every week and you watch Saliba versus Milenkovic, then you basically are picking the two that I've picked. If you're bringing a little bit of emotion into it, which sometimes is nice in football, then you're doing what Jamie's done.
And I can assure you, I'm not emotional about Nottingham Forest. I can absolutely assure you.
There is zero emotion in the team that we challenged ourselves to pick, a Monday Night Football stats-based team, which wasn't to include any of the players selected by Gary or Jamie. So this is based on the numbers. So let's see if we can get any of these promoted to your side. So Matt Hermanson, the Leicester goalkeeper, has prevented a higher XG than any other goalkeeper in the Premier League right now. Daniel Munoz at right back, most tackles and interceptions in the Premier League. Nathan Collins is the most aerial duels, the most blocks as well. Gabriel, obviously part of the best defence in the Premier League, has also scored 3 goals from corners. We know his set-piece threat. Milos Kerkez was the other left-back, who's got similar numbers to Anthony Robinson.
I was very close to picking him. It was between him and Robinson, but I just thought
he's just got slightly better one-on-one tackle success rate, Milos Kerkez. So then our midfield three, Bruno Guimaraes, is number 1 in the Premier League for ground duels won. Kulusevski has covered the most distance in the league. He has really high creative numbers, as you'll be aware as well. Elliot Anderson is really the biggest all-rounder in terms of midfield performance. He's, I think, the only midfield player who's had averages more than 3 dribbles per game and 3 tackles per game, and also creates more than 2 chances per game. So he gets in there as well. And then our front three, actually, we've gone with Bukayo Saka, who's number 1 in the Premier League for expected assists and is way ahead in terms of goal-creating actions. Brian Mbeumo through the middle has the best shot conversion in the league, is up to 34%. Hang on, Gary. I'm finishing this diatribe, which I memorised this morning. And Antoine Semenyo on the left-hand side there. Second most shots in the Premier League, the most carries ending in a shot, and he's also the highest attacking player for defensive blocks in the Premier League as well. So, Gary, the floor is yours. Are you taking any of these players for your team?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention, to be fair, one player that's not in any of our teams and not even in that team is Morgan Rogers, who I absolutely love when I watch for Aston Villa, and you'd like to get him into a team of some kind for the way he plays. But yeah, you just wanted to mention him, really. I'm surprised he's not in that 11.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. We had a look. We tried to get him in, but it just wasn't quite the number 1 in any category. He's doing really well, obviously, in the ball carrying, dribbling, shot creating actions as well, and another goal for him tonight.
Well, he was actually the one, Gary, when we talked about the team this morning. I said before about left-sided players, but Morgan Rogers has done a job there, but plays more centrally. But he was the one I was sort of tossing and turning over with Cunha, but Cunha's numbers were still greater than Morgan Rogers. Even though he's had a great season and being brilliant, Cunha's numbers were still a lot better.
Gary, thank you very much. Any hopes for the new year?
Well, we've got to go to Anfield on Sunday. Do you remember in the old Sunday League days when sometimes teams wouldn't turn up?
Well, literally wouldn't turn up.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, Sunday, obviously, I can't get that out of my head. It's only a few days away and such a big game, obviously, every single year. I know Manchester United won at City a few weeks ago, which, you know, none of us expected, but you're just going into that game now. I mean, Liverpool, I don't know what favourites they'll be for the end.
Gary, can I ask you,
the game.
Sorry for interrupting, can I ask you that? We've spoke to the manager at the end of the game and he's saying, I'm not for changing to get that. And listen, he's not going to go to a 4-4-2 deep block or something like that. But do you think there's something he could just sort of tweak, maybe put an extra man into the midfield rather than the 2? Is there something you'd like to see him do on Sunday slightly different?
I think, look, I think he has to play the players with the most energy and legs. If you watch that Liverpool team, they're all pretty much can run. So I think he has to play the highest energy team. Tonight, that back 3 and that midfield 2 had no energy. So the likes of Yoro, even Garnacho, Rashford, Mainu, obviously the other player, Bruno. Has Bruno come back or is he still out on Sunday, by the way?
He's back. 1 game.
Back, yeah. So Bruno's back. So, you know, basically you've got that situation where you just get the players in the team who've got a bit of quality who can run. You've got to be able to run at Anfield. There's no way you can get away with picking a team like tonight.
All right, Gary, we'll see you there. Look forward to it. Thank you very much for your time. We wish you a happy new year.
Thank you. I'll be in this prison cell still.
Football to come.